Alright guys, welcome back. This is part 4 in this video series. Will be the last video in this series. And we're going to go ahead and start putting this guitar together. We got the neck and the body all ready to go. Got a pretty good finish on the guitar. I did have some issues with the back, with handling it and moving it around and stuff. I did get some scratches on it. I ended up sanding it down again, most of the clear back, just to make it smooth again. So now it has kind of a matte or a semi-gloss finish. Looks a little used already, but that's cool. I'm not worried about that. I did go ahead and put in the string ferrules that I originally drilled the holes for. One of them is slightly off, which I said in a previous video, but you can hardly even notice it. So I think that looks pretty good. So I had a black pickguard already that I had ordered for another guitar of mine, but I ended up selling the guitar, so I still had the pickguard laying around. And I knew I wanted to do black on here, so I needed the pickups and the wiring and everything. So I ordered this from Stratocaster.com, which was pre-wired with all the electronics I have here. I just switched them out because I wasn't going to use the white pearl on here. It just doesn't do anything for it. So I'll save that for another project. That'll go in the box of goodies. We've got the Fender locking tuners we're going to put on. I did have to go ahead and open up the holes a little bit because the new tuners wouldn't fit in the holes. So I just took a drill bit that was slightly bigger than the holes that were there and very carefully opened those holes up so they would fit. Also, the Fender tuners have these 2 pins that hold the tuner in place so it doesn't move. Most tuners usually have a little screw that you would screw in to the headstock, but Fender uses that 2-pin system. So I had to drill the 2 little holes for each tuner, which was no big deal. I just marked where they were gonna go and drilled those out. So those are ready to go. So we'll start by installing the tuners on the headstock. I also went ahead already and installed the string trees on the front of the headstock. That was just no big deal, just screwing them in. So let's get started with the headstock. We'll install the tuners and then we'll come to the body and we'll start installing everything else. So hang tight, we'll be right back. Okay, so installing the tuners is pretty simple. You just slip it in, line up the holes, push it through. It's got just a washer and a nut that fits over the shaft. I use the socket just to tighten that up. And that's it. Just do the same thing for each one and your tuners are installed. Now these are locking tuners by Fender, which have this little knob on the back that when you loosen it and you put the string through, you pull the string tight, you tighten down that knob, and that holds the string in place nice and tight, and then it's just a couple little turns and you're in tune. It makes it really quick and easy to change strings. Supposedly better tuning stability as well. Just really nice quality tuners. So I'll go ahead and install the rest of them. All right, so there you have it. Tuners are installed. Nice and even, nice and straight. Looking pretty good. So that's it. Neck is done. Ready to go. So we'll put that aside. We'll bring the body out and we'll start working on the rest of it. Be right back. All right, so now it's time for the fun part. Installing all the electronics, the bridge, and the output jack. Now, all these components were pre-wired. It came with the pick guard, the white one, which I switched out for the black. The only connections we'll have to make are the 2 wires for the output jack, the ground and the hot, and there's a ground wire to ground the bridge. So we'll start by running these wires through. So there's the bridge. That's the ground. And the hot wire. So we'll pull those through. And in goes the pick guard. So we'll just screw this down and that'll be in place. I already pre-drilled the holes for the screws, so we'll start screwing this down. Okay, so pick guard's installed. Next we'll put the bridge plate on. Now we'll bend this ground wire over and push the wire back in and leave that ground wire laying up over the top of the body, so when we put the bridge plate on, that it'll make contact with that and hold it in place, and that'll be our ground for the bridge. Alright, so we'll just line that up with the holes we drilled. Just make sure this is lined up with the pick guard and straight. And it's just 3 screws. Okay, so next we're going to install the saddles for the bridge. There's 6 saddles, obviously. Each one is installed with a spring and a screw. This is a Fender bridge, so it does say Fender on each saddle, which is pretty nice. So I'll go ahead and start installing the saddles. Okay, so now we've got the bridge and the saddles installed. They'll have to be adjusted once we get the neck on and string it up. So the next thing we need to do is we're gonna need to attach the output jack to the 2 wires. So the white is the hot wire, which is gonna go to the outside prong of the jack, and the ground will go to the inside. So I'm just gonna feed those through and just bend them over a little so they kind of stay in place while I'm working on them, so I could solder them better. Just like that. And we'll put a towel down over the guitar because we certainly don't want to mess up our beautiful finish. All right, here we go. So I've got a good solder connection on both wires. All we have to do now is attach it to the mounting plate and install it into the body. All right, so here we go. Everything's installed. Wires are connected. Bridge is installed. Before we attach the neck, I am gonna go ahead and just plug the guitar into an amp. This way we could just test the sound from the pickups and check the knobs and make sure everything's working properly. Let me grab my amp and we'll check out the connections and make sure everything's working properly. Okay, so let's plug her in. So we'll just go through and test. This is going to be for the neck pickup position. You can see we've got sound. Volume control works. Tone works. Next position would be pickup and middle, which is working. Next position would be just the middle. See. Next position would be bridge and middle, which is working. And then finally the bridge. So that's all working good, which is a blessing. That's it. Next thing we'll do, we'll attach the neck. We'll string it up. I'll adjust the action and the intonation. We'll tune it up, make sure everything's good, and we'll give it a sound test. Okay, so let's attach the neck That's just a matter of locating the neck plate. We're going to screw the screws in. I'm going to get them started. And we'll screw those into they'll like just start to come out the other side. Then we'll put the neck in place and we can go ahead and screw it down tight.